Hello and welcome everyone. For those that don't know me, I'm Adele Wieser and I'm the Regional Managing Director of APAC here at Index Exchange. What a year 2022 has been. What we thought optimistically was a year heralding the start of the new normal has shaped up to be yet another one of new challenges and dramatic change. In amongst it all, Index just celebrated our 5th anniversary in Australia, which is a milestone that we are incredibly proud of. Over the course of 2022, we've seen evolution and change in the digital industry at large, and today we sit at yet another crossroads. Inflation is at an all-time high and consumer sentiment is at an all-time low. As a result, media owners and buyers are rightfully asking about how 2023 will shake out for the digital advertising industry. With challenge, however, comes opportunity, and today I'm joined by Foxtel Media's Executive Director of Sales, Hasan, and GroupM's General Manager of Specialty Business, Brignell, to share their opinions about how we address these challenges and focus on the opportunities in the year ahead. Nev and Nick, it's great to have you both join us for this discussion. Shall we dive right in?
Yeah, let's go. Sounds good.
Brilliant. So Nev, I'm going to throw this very first question to you. What are the biggest challenges you think that the industry will face in 2023?
So I think in the intro that you just set up, I think obviously the inflation and the potential of the global recession is going to play a major part on one of the major industry challenges. I think the challenge we have in our industry is marketing budgets are one of the first to sort of get squeezed or pushed back. But with that, the challenge then becomes delivering year-on-year growth with lower budgets, with inflation and with recession looming. So I think, look, that's the most obvious one that you just have to call out, which then puts more pressure on all of us to deliver greater growth. I think the other area I look at from a challenge is just the continued, we still see in that churn and change in our medium. People are the great resignation, as it was called. But I think with that becomes the challenge of continually feeling like you're onboarding, upskilling, educating. And then when that's happening across the media side, buy side, all sides of the industry, it just makes it harder to keep a level of consistency to make sure that we can deliver for our clients.
It's fair. I think it's something we definitely saw the start of in 2022, yeah. Right? You know, and that will continue throughout next year. Nick, from GroupM side and from your perspective, what do you see as the challenges?
Yeah, look, I think Nev is just spot on in terms of the inflationary challenges we're going to see next year. But yeah, talent shortages are just immense, just across the board. Obviously, Nev on the media side, but from the agency point of view, we're seeing up to 6 months to hire, sometimes longer for those senior hires. And then sometimes when you wait that long, you're still not getting the right hire. So look, competitive hybrid working perks is helping, but we're still not seeing that influx of talent like that we're seeing, you know, post 2020 and in the better times in 2019. But coupled with that, I also think marketing plan pivoting is going to be something that the teams, particularly in the agencies, are going to have to be across with. We've seen just recently with Twitter and all the spend being pulled from there, and over the last couple of years with COVID, how marketing budgets have had to remain fluid and move exceptionally quickly, like sometimes within 24 hours. So I think the planners and buyers and the agencies and the people from a programmatic lens will have to be on that in the future.
Yeah, so it's a factor of, I guess, like speed to market and efficiency, right? Like that's what we're trying to capitalize on, which is a great little segue into our second question, which was around the opportunities. Nick, I'll pass it to you first this time. So as we enter next year, you know, obviously with those challenges in mind, what do you see as being the opportunities that are at our feet?
Yeah, look, great question. I think definitely CTV, digital out of home, in-game, digital audio. These are the channels that I think are really best positioned to capitalize, particularly on the deprecation of the cookie that we'll probably see towards the back end of next year and definitely in the start of 2024. But contextual targeting is we'll see that just rise back up. That's going to return to the forefront. You know, first party data is going to continue to inform those data overlays on, you know, on media plans. But the gaming sector, look, from what I can see at the moment, it's going to see unprecedented growth. And as that sector evolves, new avenues to be able to advertise will emerge. And programmatic will be at the forefront of that. Hopefully, we're seeing a lot of it come through already. And the options to, you know, to advertise in game, and the ROI, particularly on retargeting, is immense. And 5G will definitely help with boost streaming, multiplayer mobile gaming, and the deployment of that impact and immersion of in-game advertisements. But coupled with that, the big one that I've seen lately is the diversification of social spend into display, video, and digital out of home. Buyers across our group are really increasingly becoming aware of maximizing penetration outside of social media. So, and it works really easily. You just lift those social assets, and you can extend them with the reach and engagement seamlessly across a range of different formats. So, and it really builds on that content and that media investment.
Yes, so interesting. I did see Nev's eyes twinkle when you mentioned CTV as one of the areas of opportunity. Nev, I'll pass to you. Are you in the same boat as Nick in terms of your thinking? Is there other opportunities we need to be considering or aware of?
Yeah, I think Nick gives a nice view regarding the agency landscape. I think when we look at it, obviously slightly selfish in the terms of, from a publisher platform, CTV and the growth of CTV, I think as digital video was there, but I think it's now just brought it into the mainstream. It's just part of that conversation, and it's big impact formats delivered in home with people wrapped around it. I think the technology and the opportunities are huge. I think with the introduction of more and more ad tier streaming service coming into the player, coming into the mix, I think the programmatic piece is that how do you drive that cross-screen reach, frequency, cross-channel mix? And Nick mentions a few of the gaming and a few others. I think Nick's got a slight passion for gaming. I could sort of feel that coming through in his vernacular because he knew a lot about that. But
I sit on the IAB board, mate.
Yeah. But I think when you've got the ability with one programmatic platform that can bring all of those different mediums into one mix, I think the ease of trade is going to be key. But I think the ability to then maximize reach, awareness, those key factors that are like day-to-day in media buying becomes fundamentally key. So I think that's the way I look at it. The programmatic platforms is a facilitator to make deliver things seamlessly and easy, but also have the ability to measure and track. And obviously measurement and tracking brings its own problems. But I think at the same point, it's a positive for us to be able to make those things easier. But I love the point about contextual targeting. I think people have been, the Optus piece that has happened has almost brought back context is super, super important to driving that synergy between brands. And I think programmatic can actually drive that a lot more than just being a delivery platform for 25-54s. It can be a delivery platform to engage sport fanatics, entertainment lovers, etc. So I do love that idea that's resurging back to where it should be.
Yeah, it's a fantastic segue into my very next question. I think you you may have beat me to it, but obviously the most recent announcement from Foxtel around Binge's new ad-supported tier as part of subscription models is incredibly exciting. How important, Nev, and I'll pass this to you first up, do you think, you've touched on this really, the context is to buyers, and do you think there is particular content genres buyers will be more receptive to?
I think when you've got, yes, but I think when it's a premium ad-supported platform that has ads delivered in the right way. So again, for us, the biggest challenge was around how we built the business model, whether you've got to get that balance between consumer and advertising and the balance between minutage, the number of ads, the frequency, etc. But I think when you've got premium driven content, that the argument around what is defined as premium has been around for years. I think any piece of content, we're lucky, professionally produced, whether it's local or the global brands or movie or studios that we represent, it does make it more important when, and I look at it luckily from a sports perspective. I don't think you can get a more passionate, engaged audience. I know this morning there would have been a few Aussies that were watching the game in that hope that it was going to, there was going to be that result there. But I think sport is for us such an engaged platform. We're super, super lucky to have it. So don't tell me that when an audience is actively engaged, watching, and you put the right ad with relevance in front of them, it doesn't drive it. Now, look, a bit of sneak peek. We've done some work with Amplified Intelligence, and we've looked at the attention, and we've looked at the KO audience, and we found that the KO audience was 30% higher engaged compared to just watching it on a free-to-air channel. So I think when you're paying for premium content with the right messaging, with context, in the right environment, with the right ad load, it definitely has a better buy, or you're more receptive and open to those communication messages. And I think for us as an industry, we've got to do more of that, but we've got to be smart about the way that we don't harm the customer, and the customer needs to be thought of in everything that we do within the medium.
Right. So that customer-centric view, or the consumer-centric view.
Yeah. Which is hard when you work in sales, because sometimes there can be that selfishness of, do we look at it from a monetary? But I think if the customer's at the heart of everything, then the brand gets a better engagement story.
Right.
And I think that's ultimately what it's about. Better brand results, better impact.
Yeah, better performance, right? It's the end ROI and the outcome of those campaigns that are being run.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it's just like the things that are coalescing at the moment. You know, Nick touched on it beautifully around the 5G. You know, that connectedness and the ability for consumers to engage in these rich immersive experiences in video streaming. You know, we see this more broadly into Asia, for example, like real very large number of hours of consumption can bring that all together. And so Nick, just to pass that same question to you, you did touch on it. Like, I think content definitely sounds like something that's of keen interest to your clients and your business. Maybe we put a spin on it and look at even in other addressable solutions. As we see, let's take the CTV market and even gaming expanding. How important are these in the media buys for next year?
Oh, super important. And I couldn't agree more with what Nev was saying, particularly around sport. And I think binge, it's just a great, this new ad-supported binge, it's just a great opportunity for the brands to leverage this new channel. And the reach and connection with this highly engaged audience is just inaccessible, particularly across traditional television from what we've seen. And GroupM, I guess, is uniquely positioned to capitalize on this new TV opportunity. In part, and as Nev would work really closely with them, is the significant investment we have in particular Finecast and as well with Xaxis. But again, when we look at that contextual element and the deprecation of the cookie, it's going to become a major factor, I think, moving forward. And these ad-supported models, like binge, we'll see that onset of that really premium contextual inventory that's going to come into the market, and brands will just jump to align with it. I think, in particular, we see it already, particularly across BVOD. They want to align themselves with these shows, and I can definitely see that happening with the likes of House of the Dragons and White Lotus, and Nev was saying about sport as well, and the combination of the high viewership, the better ad targeting, low risk. We'll definitely see a lot of GroupM advertisers really flock to these contextual ad targeting tiers, particularly binge.
Yeah, I think one point to add, I think it's the importance that these are new audiences that you've never generally been able to hit. So we know that within those before there was the ad tiers, we knew these were super hard to reach customers. So you had to work 4 times as hard to find them. So I think the benefit of having that new incremental reach in those environments with better experiences will just work for everyone's benefit in the long term.
100%.
Yeah. Next question, Nick. Obviously, the rising inflation and economic turbulence, it's playing a huge role in the size of marketing budgets. Nev touched on it at the start around just, that pressure and efficiency and cost as we move forward. What do you think the marketers will be? Sorry, do you think that they'll be more conservative in Q1? And if so, what tactics are going to be used to drive those media dollars further?
Oh, look, it's hard to say. I think our more global clients will be a bit more conservative just with everything that's happening across Eastern Europe and supply chains and things like that. Our more local clients will probably look to be more conservative in the second half of the year, I would imagine. Just I read the other day that 50% of homeowners will be coming off fixed rates in around July. So there's going to be a massive crunch around then. So I think that our back half of the year might have a little bit more turbulence in our front half, but we can already see the likes of Facebook and Snap, etc. You know, they're predicting this turbulence isn't going to abate anytime soon. So we're really looking at different tactics to really maximize ROAS for our clients and their ad spend, and things like utilizing different digital channels just to really eliminate that wastage and be more pointed in their media buy. That's where we're kind of directing our clients at the moment.
When you think about, you know, advertisers being a little bit more conservative, how can, you know, the media owner side of that help maybe address some of those concerns, or help, you know, deliver that, you know, performance effectiveness, etc.?
Yeah, I think from a Foxtel perspective, we know when you can offer targeting and deliver ROI or measurement tools that prove the effectiveness, it makes it an easier conversation. One of the things we mentioned at the upfronts was we've got our largest CapEx investment ever signed off, $23 million in ad tech upgrades. Now, some of those will bring us in line with the market, and then some will accelerate us. So I think, one, having solutions that are what the contextual relevance is super important, but we still know that targeting, the ability to truly define hard to reach audiences with segmentation is key. So that's something we've got to work with, especially as, you know, we get inundated with platforms and new inventory that we can access. So I think that's the first thing that we look at, is get your technology right so you can actually deliver on those needs, either in context or with segmentation. I think the other thing we look at is, we know the churn within the market is high. We know the talent shortage. We try and make it easier for buyers to understand our platform so they can actually navigate it in a more simple way. You know, whether it's something as simple as, we now KPI our teams as one. There's not a digital target. There's not a linear target. It's just a target that they collectively work in. We want to make them have one conversation with the buyers. So the role is now that they're TV and digital experts. It's not a programmatic channel or a direct IO. It's just a channel that delivers the buy. And the view then is, by making that easier, making it easier to work with the agencies, we can then maximize budgets. But I think at the end of the day, no one's naive. Money is going to get squeezed, but we've just got to prove the effectiveness. So if we can get technology, we can get the people right to make it easier to trade, and then we can deliver it through initiatives that, like Fox Test, where we actually prove the outcome. It then becomes a really easy conversation, because, you know, when, you know, if we're being challenged by the agency or the client, they've then got proof points to show, one, these guys deliver, two, they deliver awesome results. And that makes it easier for a marketeer to go, okay, well, I'll keep these people on the plan. I think ultimately the measurement bit is going to be super important, but we've got to make it easy to transact, because in a world of uncertainty, what I guarantee, budgets don't get laid down 12 months in advance. We're going to see a month-on-month mapping process. And if we don't make it easy to buy and then prove the effectiveness, we're just going to be chasing our tails. And that doesn't help anyone in that regard. So there's a few things we're doing, but I think for us, tech, people, and then measurement and proven outcomes, I think they're the big things that we want to focus on to make it easier for clients and agencies to work with us. And then when it does get squeezed, then ideally we're the ones that rise to the top, and we're the last ones off that plan, but we're the first ones that deliver the outcomes they need.
Yeah. I think the people challenge has been so interesting for our industry. I think, you know, programmatic, we have, like, it's an incredibly deep technology space. Yeah. And we have, for many years, like, thrown people at problems. And now it seems like it's definitely the year to start to throw more tech at problems, to your point, Nev, like, make buying easier, and to, you know, I guess, bridge the gap that exists in some of these skill shortages across businesses in our space. Yeah. Nick, over to you. If you had to pick one channel, where do you think the line... You're like, Nev wants to answer this one first.
I'm keen to see what Nick's answer is.
Who's going to take the lion's share in 2023, Nick?
Look, I'm not just saying this because Nev's on the call, but the initial forecast I've seen is streaming premium video is just going to go so much more faster than any other channel in digital. Audio and digital out of home are going to buck the slowing trend, and I think they're going to have high single figures. But streaming premium video is definitely going to have double-digit growth. And look, and if we look at it from a future-facing point of view as well, streaming TV will have an abundance of more quality supply, and it's going to become even more addressable as we move along over the next 12 to 18 months. And I heard today that streaming premium video is just going to get larger and larger and larger, even with the things like, if we're looking really future facing, the onset of driverless EVs, that's going to engage more users. They're actually calling the EV the new living room. So we're just going to see so much more happen over the next 12 to 18 months. It's just going to be amazing. I'm not just saying that because Nev's on the call either. But look, for a digital out-of-home point of view, and from my business Sightline, we're also going to be looking at 40 to 70% growth as well. So I think those two channels are going to really do well in 2023.
Yeah, it's an interesting one when you look at it. And sorry, Nick, I'm going to stay with you for just a second and ask you another question. Supply and demand curves. When there is an abundance of supply, but demand is fixed, pricing, reduces. And to Nev's point, this is where, effectiveness and we're not really focused on the cost of media as such. It's really the back end performance and ROI. Do you anticipate that as more supply comes in, that we'll actually see the demand increasing further, like almost, in line with the growth of supply in the space?
Oh, well, I think to Nev's point, it's going to come back to the outcome, and it'll come back to the suppliers that can really drive that outcome. And if Foxtel and Binge and KO, for example, really can drive that outcome, they will get that lion's share, because when it comes down to the crux of things, that's what marketers are after. They're after that outcome. Yeah,
brilliant. Nev, I feel like I know the answer to this question.
Look, the simple way I look at it is, yes, you all know the answer, and yes, it is premium streaming video. Then the way I look at it, though, it's simply where the audience is. It's the biggest growth platform that we've got. Look, we're lucky to have announced Binge, but I think with all the other players entering the market, for me, the simple answer is where are the audiences? And that's the medium that's going to grow the highest. And I think from a video perspective, when you're in a premium environment with low color, better engagement, and you can measure, track, and report on it, it makes sense. That's where the ad dollars are going to go. So, yeah, selfishly, from a Foxtel Media, I'm going to say it's us and that part of the industry. But I think that just goes in line with where the audience is. So I'm not asking it based on an audience that's declining or going away. I think that story is built on the fact that that's where our customers are, and we're growing month on month. We look at our results internally, and that's where the growth of the audience is. And that makes it an easier conversation for Nick to go, hey, this is why we're asking you to invest with us, because there's an audience there that you A, never had, but B, one that's accelerated in terms of its growth. So it's everyone assumes it's just the Foxtel Media, but I'd flip it on where the customer is and where the audience is coming from. And that's the new channel, and it is premium video for us.
Yeah. It's that new digital living room, right?
Exactly.
It's mobile. You're not wedded to the standard viewing hours of 6 till 9 and all that. So,
Exactly. And I think, look, just on that, I think that the interesting thing is the standard viewing hours are gone, and one little bit of insight is we look at Formula One, and the growth we've had in Formula One on KO has been phenomenal. And we thank Drive to Survive. But Formula One, outside of everything, the biggest growth of that is on iPad viewing, because it is such late night consumption that it's not in front of a CTV like all our other sport. That is based on an iPad in the bedroom, leaning on the side, staying up to watch a 2 a.m. race. So I think the point there is it's the consumption of content. It's how you want to watch it, when you want to watch it. And we've got so much offering. Everyone's got so much of it to offer. Makes it easy to hit new audiences and customers.
Nev, last question for you. What's the one industry topic that you hope becomes status quo rather than something that we just continue to discuss within 2023?
Look, for us, we spoke about it at our upfronts. One of our key pillars was watchability. I think the idea that we've got to make the customer viewing experience better. We've got to look at the volume of ads that we're putting into commercial minutage. We've got to look at the ad repetition. We've got to look at the sequencing of those ads. And more importantly, we've got to move the dial on the measurement piece to be able to sort of report back on that. I think for us, we've all taken and enjoyed having new audiences, and that comes with revenue, but we've got to go back to the customer. And if we don't start putting the customer at the heart of everything that we do, and we don't make those content experiences highly engaging, highly watchable, and manage that with terms of creative ad loads and things like that, we're going to end up burning them. And when we burn them, what then happens is they simply just leave or view it. And there is so much other content out there for them to view. I think we're all going to be naive if we think they'll just keep coming back and putting up with it. So for us, it's a big part of it. We're a very different business from anyone else. We're a subscriber-based business. We've got customers paying for it. So we've got to put that at the heart. And I think more importantly, when we put that experience and make that better, we make the ads more engaging, the customer more engaged, and naturally that drives a better outcome. So that's one thing I want to sort of, we're working on it and we're pushing it hard. It's super, super important. And at some point, we've all got to decide what we're going to do with measurement, because there's so many different ways or so much understanding of how we're going to measure cross screen. I think we're just going to take a leap of faith sometimes and just move forward with it. So that's one area that I think, there's a couple there that I've covered, so sorry. But I think for me, the watchability and the customer viewing experience cannot just be what it was from a linear. We've got to think differently about that, because otherwise we'll end up burning them. And once you burn them, you're ultimately losing the people that are core to driving your business model.
Well, it's definitely one of the larger prevailing themes in our industry, right? You know, we've lost a lot of consumer trust over the last couple of years. I think, you know, the connected world and you know, BVOD is definitely one of the very first frontiers that we can address it and you know, really help users feel more comfortable with advertising experiences and that value exchange between, you know, this is the premium content that you're wanting to consume at 2 a.m. in your bed watching Formula One versus, you know, the others. So, Nick, very quickly over to you. What do you think is going to be?
Yeah, so Adele, look, for us and for GroupM, it's sustainability. Like that's a big thing that we're really pushing at the moment. We're seeing more and more of it creep in across RFPs, and clients are definitely talking about it all the time now. At GroupM, we launched Project Alpha, and we're really proud that we're the first agency in Australia to offer offsetting, you know, display and online, offsetting carbon for display and online, and it's now a standard practice across sectors. And we started that in Q2 this year, but we can see it becoming bigger and bigger and bigger as the year 2023 goes on. But we basically measure campaign carbon emissions and offset these by purchasing carbon offset credits. And the way for our clients, they can put something more climate positive in Australia. The causes that we sponsor are reforestation, the Great Barrier Reef restoration. So it's, for us, we look at it as it's a first step, and it's a small step, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. But I think it's only a matter of time before a global brand decides they're going to go 100% carbon neutral or carbon positive. And then I think there's going to be a lot of scurrying around to get that to happen. So I feel like GroupM has just been amazing at being at the forefront and getting the wheels in motion on this.
We're definitely an industry that is being measured, at least there's the perception, you know, when we talk about what is required to sustain digital advertising technology, you know, the servers, the processing, all of these are energy sinks, right? And so the more we can be doing around sustainability, even to your point, Nick, like those first little steps, just making a change and understanding what's involved. I too am really excited to see that one progress next year.
Yeah, I think that for me, the super positive, the good thing about the media is when we start to get behind a theme, because we've seen it in every single response that we've had this year. It's a theme, and it's actually nice to see everyone take it seriously. And it isn't a token remark that's put on the brief. It's actually wanting to see outcome driven. And I think everyone accepts it's a journey. But, you know, I think listening to Nick talk about it, it's so nice to see as an industry, and obviously with GroupM driving that agenda harder in regards to that place, what they're doing, it's nice to see for once an industry all collectively getting aligned behind it and saying, do you know what, we are going to drive that change. So look, we're not perfect, to your point. There is an output that we do and everything's delivered through those platforms, but at least we're talking about it. And at least the next year in particular, it's on everyone's agenda, and just making it front of mind means we're going to try and drive some change.
100%.
Yeah. There we go. So with the evolving economic concerns having wide-ranging implications for the future of our industry, the good news is that there is still bright spots and significant opportunities ahead. I'm excited to see how the introduction of ad-supported streaming services work to provide media buyers with more digital opportunities and access to an entirely new digital audience. Big thank you once again to Nev and Nick for joining our session and doing a bit of crystal ball gazing. I'm really eager to see whether the predictions for 2023 do come true. So thank you both for your time.